My lens cap is in my pocket for when I inevitably forget about it. I need that on the record. Hi, so today I wanted to have a little chit chat with you about knitting tools. Right off the bat, a couple of things I want to make clear. This is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. One thing was sent to me by a friend of mine who has a stitch marker business. We will get into that when we get there. That's the only thing that was any sort of thing I didn't pay for. All opinions are completely my own. I will have everything I mention linked. Everything I mentioned linked in the description box with non-affiliate links, so do with that what you will. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just wanted to talk about what tools I have found to be helpful in my knitting practice, and also a few I have found to not be helpful and were actually kind of a waste of money. Hopefully I can save you from some of those mistakes and also let you know what I actually do use on a daily basis or quite often in my knitting. That's all we're doing here today, not an ad. Some of these are kind of splurges though. We'll get into it. I, yet again, being the professional YouTuber I am, I have notes again, guys. Are we so proud of me or what? Ugh. The first one I want to talk about is actually a little bit upsetting. I'll tell you why. So the first tool I use every time I wash or block my knitwear is the Woolen & Co. handcrafted lanolin wool wash bars. So it's a wool wash but in bar form, obviously. So you just run it under the faucet and let it kind of like soak up. It doesn't get really sudsy. And this particular scent, the raspberry vanilla, is the single best thing I have ever smelled. It's so good. It's like fruity and vanilla-y. The catch here is I went to go order a new bar because mine is kind of running low and I can't be without this. And this scent is discontinued. And I think a piece of me died. So I messaged Woolen & Co. I said, I'm pleading, no, I'm begging you to not get rid of the raspberry vanilla scent. Like on my hands and knees, I am begging. And the owner responded and said, unfortunately, where they get their fragrances from has discontinued the fragrance. So it's like completely out of their hands. And that was probably one of the sadder moments of my life, I think. It smells so good. I wish you could all smell this. Like, I wish I could hold it up to the camera and you guys could just sniff it. Because it's so good. So she had some leftover wool wash in like liquid form in the raspberry vanilla scent. I bought 3 of them. That was as much as I could justify spending on soap at the time. I wish I would have gotten more, because when this runs out, I'm going to be severely upset. She did say though that she's working on finding a dupe for the scent, but I fear it won't hit the same. It's just so good. But anyway, back to the actual bar of soap itself. So it has olive oil, coconut oil, lanolin, you know, saponified oils of coconut. My bad. So that's like the soap part. And then essential oil / fragrance oil, mango butter and shea butter too. So yeah, to use, lather under running water, gently massage garments to clean, no rinsing required. This is my second bar of Woolen & Co. wool wash and I won't use anything else. I've tried the other like Euclin, the one that everybody uses, and it was fine, but this is just so good. And I love that it's like a small business, and I also really love the bar form of this because it's less wasteful. My first bar was their lavender and cedar scent, and that one was also really good, but they had a booth at Flock Fiber Festival and I smelled this one there and I was like dead in my tracks. This is the best thing I've ever smelled. So Woolen & Co. wool wash bars is my first recommendation of knitting tools I love. This next one is the only thing that was sent to me by my friend Jess of Mabel and Jess Knits, who has a stitch marker brand. I am so bad with stitch markers, guys. They disappear on me. I don't know where they go. I check in my couch cushions, I check under my couch, I check around the areas I'm knitting in. I can't find them. So this is one of 2 I can find currently. They're somewhere around here, okay? It's a thing with me. Okay, so this is my little Wishbone stitch marker, and it has this really great clasp. So you can open it, close it, obviously. It's like a nice size to fit on a lot of needles, but because of how notorious I am for not being able to keep track of them, I've never let myself purchase nice stitch markers before. and Jess reached out and asked if she could send me some, but because I have never experienced having cute stitch markers before, my life has been changed, unfortunately. It's so fun. So I have my other one that I currently have findable on a project as my beginning of round marker, my little horseshoe. I got the Lucky Charms set, so it had the wishbone, horseshoe, a rabbit, and a 4-leaf clover. Look at how cute it is. And it's just so fun to have that to like almost keep you motivated to keep going, because I'm like, I want to get back to my cute little... I wasn't expecting that. There's just something very aesthetically pleasing about a fancy stitch marker that I had never experienced before until Jess bestowed upon me these delightful little things, and I fear now I can't live without them. I'm using some plastic ones right now, just the standard issue stitch markers, and it's just so sad and bleak now that I have experienced the good life. I highly recommend Jess's stitch markers. She's like one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And so her stitch markers are reflective of that. They're just so beautifully curated, and all of her styles are gorgeous and adorable. She also has a necklace that you can attach the stitch markers to. So it looks like they're just charms on a necklace, but also you have your stitch markers handy. And I think that might cure my stitch marker black hole syndrome. And I have been meaning to order one. Also, it's just another great small business to support. Mabel is a cat and I am obsessed with her. Jess is also just incredibly kind, and as I said, has such an artistic eye and such an eye for aesthetics that I really admire. So super cool brand, super cool person, super cool cat. You can't go wrong. Next up, this is kind of a two-parter. Please ignore how absolutely destroyed this case is. I've had these for years now. These are my Clover interchangeable needles. Like half of these are currently in use. So these are my go-to needles. These are the bamboo Clover interchangeables. This was a set my mom got me for Christmas, I think in 2023. Yeah, and easily the most used gift I have ever received. I love bamboo needles. It might just be because that's what I learned how to knit on, but it's what I'm most comfortable with. And this is a really good set. It has sizes, US 3 is the smallest size, so 3.25 millimeter. And then the largest is a US 15, 10 millimeter. So a lot of range there in terms of needle size. And then it also comes with, I think, 4 or 5 cable lengths. I have bought a few more over the years. One small issue. Ivy, my cat, Ivy has chewed on a couple of the needle tips, so there are some kitty cat chomper marks on here, which isn't ideal, but it's still usable, so it's fine. I don't really care that much. I think it's kind of funny. Beware if you have a cat that likes to gnaw on things. They will probably do so on your needles. Also, like obviously because they're wooden, they're more susceptible to breaking, so you do have to be a little bit more cautious in that regard. Which leads me into a very recent acquisition, which is my first ever set of Chowu interchangeable needles. I can't really speak on how much I use these or how much I like these yet because I've had them for 4 days, so I'm not gonna like say you have to have these, but so far I am really liking the knitting experience with these. I have some out of the case right now, sorry. They do increase my speed a little bit. Yarn just glides a lot easier. Bamboo needles have a bit more of a stick factor to them, so if you're using a really slippery fiber, I would recommend using bamboo needles, but if you're using like a wool or a cotton, I think the metal needles seem to be increasing my speed a little bit. So if that's like not your journey, then I would just get the bamboo, but if you are looking to speed up your knitting process a little bit, this might be worth looking into. Chowu does sell individual needles on fixed cables, so you don't have to like buy the full set out of the gate. I have used some fixed Chowus before, usually for socks, and I do really like them, so I felt comfortable pulling the trigger on this bad boy, and so far, so great. I am really liking it thus far, but again, I'm not recommending it to you at this time because I feel I don't have enough data to work with. Additionally, with the interchangeable needles, I would recommend getting an extra set of your most used size of needles. So for me, that is my 4 millimeters. I think it's US 6. That's my most used needle. So I do have 2 sets of 4mm, as well as my most used cable length, which is the longest available because I knit a lot of sweaters. I would recommend having spares of those just because you might have more than one project going at a time, and it's nice to have double so you don't have to like go back and forth and untwist your needles and interchange them all the time. I find it's much simpler just to spend the $10 and have 2 sets of those. Also, like if you ever lose one or break one or anything, it's nice to have a backup. This is incredibly specific. My next recommendation for tools is a bent tapestry needle. A slight bend, but other than that, it's just a normal metal tapestry needle. I love these for doing Italian or tubular bind-offs. I think it's so much easier. That little bend really does help with the ergonomics of doing an Italian or tubular bind off. I think it helps you like pick the stitch up easier, in my opinion, and especially when you're going in from the back when you're doing that one step of the Italian bind off, this just makes it a little bit easier, in my opinion. I might be insane. Well, we know that. I do think there is some merit to this. I do really like this. It's also good for weaving in ends because it's just like, it's less, I don't know how to describe why this is so good for me, but like, I just find it so much easier to like pick up stitches with this, if that makes literally any sense at all. Like, you have to try it, and these are so cheap. They come in packs of usually 3, one of these and 2 straight needles for probably like $3 or $4. So if you're able to pick one up, I would highly recommend you try it for yourself so you can see what I'm talking about, but it just really does help with the picking up of stitches when you're weaving in ends or doing bind offs or whatever. I don't know, man. Also, on the vein of needle finishing of garments, I also really like a needle like this. I feel like a beauty guru. You did it at my birthday dinner.
And you did it at my birthday dinner.
I don't know what these are called technically. My camera died. I had to switch out the battery. I fear that's the story of my life. And then I lost like 5 minutes of footage because I didn't press record. Classic. Love that for me. I was talking about this. So the benefit to using this is that you don't have to tie the yarn off on the end like you do when you use a classic tapestry needle. You can just kind of like put the yarn through and then just weave in the end. It's so easy. It has significantly quickened the pace at which I weave in ends, and it's made it much more enjoyable. In terms of the 2 tapestry needles I recommend, this one is specifically for weaving in ends. I would not use this for binding off. This one is specifically for binding off. It does work for weaving in ends. As I mentioned, it does help with like the picking up of stitches, but I do still find this one to be slightly preferable in that particular use case. I do recommend you have both. Again, they are very inexpensive and have saved me a ton of time, both of them. Very worth it, in my opinion. Next up, we have my mini Bewitched boxy bag from Black Pearl Magic, and this is genuinely one of the things I use the absolute most in my knitting life. This goes everywhere with me. This went to Europe with me. Like, literally, I don't go anywhere without this, and I love it so much. It has a little clip that you can attach to basically anything. It's so handy. So I clip it on my work tote bag, I clip it on my fanny pack zipper. Like, you don't see me without those. Basically an extension of my body at this point. I got the clear glitter color with the pink zipper. It is the perfect size for your on-the-go notions. So in here I have my TSA approved mini scissors, which we will talk about in a moment. I have a few stitch markers. Oh hey, oh my god, guys, wait. We found my other Mabel and Jess stitch markers, guys. They didn't go in the black hole. Okay, we'll swing back to that real quick. Here's my Clover, my bunny. That's so exciting. I was tearing apart my apartment looking for these before I started filming. That's major. So yeah, I have my stitch markers, a random tapestry needle just in case anything ever comes apart and I have to fix something. I usually also have a retractable measuring tape in here, and everything fits like a dream. Everything just fits so perfectly in there, and I still have room. One of my best knitting related purchases, genuinely. So I bought this at Flock last year. The owner of Black Pearl Magic, her name is Shayla. She is adorable. She does a lot of shows, so she's usually at like Flock Fiber Festival and I think some other festivals on the East Coast as well. She goes to a lot of stuff like that, events there. She also has an online store, but I think she only does made to order. Don't quote me on that. Every so often she'll do like an in-stock drop of stuff she has left over from shows. So if you have the chance to go to anything like Flock and see her in person, I highly recommend it. The energy at that booth was so fun, and everything is just so colorful and fun and sparkly and pretty, and I love it I love it so much. She makes other like bigger bags too, other sized of these boxy bags, tote bags that are amazing. They're like holographic stars and I want one really bad, and they're huge and it's awesome. So everything she makes is just so fun and sparkly and colorful and I love it, and so freaking handy. I love this thing. I cannot stress enough how much I use this thing. I am being so for real. I take this everywhere. I can't wait to get another one at Flock next year and also see Shayla because she is so cool. Mini Bewitched Boxy Bag, Black Pearl Magic. I cannot recommend this enough. Next up, we have a spool of elastic string. This is just a standard elastic string, strong and stretchy. Can't beat that. You can find these at most craft stores, usually in the beading section or, you know, online as well. It comes in a pretty big spool. I don't know exactly the meterage or yardage on this, but there is a ton and I use this a lot and I still have so much left. So this one spool is gonna last me a really long time. And my biggest use with this is necklines. If I ever have a neckline that's not sitting where I want it to, or is maybe drooping a little bit, I will use my famous bent tapestry needle, thread some of this on just like it's normal yarn, and weave it into the collar. So I usually go through the middle of the collar, and if you need more support, you can go through the top of the collar as well. It works like a charm. So you just weave it through, tie it off, just like cinches it up. It's fantastic. This is magic, I think. It would also be really good for cuffs if you wanted a tighter cuff or anything like that. And I've seen some designers like work it into designs in ways that are really cool and unique. So this stuff is incredibly handy. I highly recommend everybody have a spool of this on hand at all times. You never know when you're gonna need some elastic string. Okay, this one is specific, but my Stork Scissors, I love these. I picked these up at Knitting for Olive when I was in Denmark last summer. They are the nicest scissors I've ever owned, and there's something to be said about having a nice pair of scissors. I think it's one of those things that's often overlooked. I'm speaking for myself. Like I was just always kind of like, I'll just use whatever scissors I can steal from my mom. Thanks, Mom. If you are unfamiliar with the lore of the Stork Scissor in particular, that's my favorite part of the Stork Scissor is the story behind it. So correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding and what I have heard is that the Stork Scissor originated because Italian midwives would bring their embroidery projects to deliveries of babies because it can take a while. And so they would be embroidering or knitting or whatever, and then they would just use the scissors that they had to cut the umbilical cord to cut their yarn or whatever, which is hilarious. So yeah, eventually they went from like the midwifery bag into the crafting bag and just became a symbol of crafting, and I think it's a cool nod to like just how badass women are, and that's just baller as hell to like be midwifing and then just like embroidering as somebody's actively laboring. Like that picture is really funny to me. Funny in like a cool way. Like I'm like, you know what, hell yeah. Rock on, Italian midwives. That's sick. It came over from midwifery into crafting and just has remained a symbol of, I don't know, really symbolically, but to me it's just kind of like a nod to the history of the craft and the history of women crafting together. It's really cool. I encourage you to look into the story for a more eloquent telling of it because I'm sure I missed a lot of nuance there, but I really do love these scissors a lot and they make me happy every time I see them. They remind me of going to Denmark and one of my best friends and Knitting for Olive and just the best time ever. I love these very much and I recommend you get a pair of special scissors because I think it's just one of life's little overlooked joys, and I encourage you to find those wherever you possibly can, actually. Stork Scissors, I recommend. Also, guys, listen, if we get to 10K by Flock early August, I will get a Stork Scissor tattoo. I'm thinking like right here, 10K by Flock, and I will tattoo myself. I'm being serious. I've just been wanting that tattoo for a while, so it seems like a good excuse to use that as leverage. 10K by Flock, babes. I'll vlog it if you want. I haven't gotten a tattoo in so long. I have a few little tattoos. Like I'm not tatted, but like I have a few tattoos, and every time I get a tattoo it's really funny because I work it up in my head really bad. I don't like needles and I'm like freaking out beforehand, and then I'm like getting the tattoo and I'm always like, oh, that's not bad. My worst one actually was in the crook of my elbow. I have a matching tattoo with my mom, so I have the moon and she has Saturn from the Taylor Swift song 7. The lyric is I love you to the moon and to Saturn. So I have the moon, she has Saturn. It's adorable. This one hurt the most by far, and like I have my finger tattooed, so I don't know what that was about, but this one hurt. My easiest was on my ankle. I have a little snake. By far the easiest. That was a piece of cake. And that was the one I like worked myself up the most over, and then I got it and I was like, oh. Anyway, not the point at all, but 10K by Flock. I will get a Stork Scissor tattoo and vlog it for you. And it will be entertaining because I am a wreck when I see a needle. Where was I? Okay, just as many retractable measuring tapes as you can reasonably own. I highly recommend you have at least 3 of these. I went to my friend Yeji's house yesterday for a little cast-on party, and she just handed me 3 of them. She was like, I ordered a pack of 30. I was like, you are so real for that. I have these in every bag I own. I have several just strewn about my apartment regularly. This one looks like a bear and I love it. I also had a frog at one point and then my friend broke it and I was really upset, but that's fine. Just as many of these as you can like reasonably buy. They are so handy. I cannot stress enough how much you need several of these though, because they are so easy to lose. Again, that could just be a me problem, but having many of these in rotation has significantly improved my life. Retractable measuring tape, gotta have it. Swinging back to the Black Pearl Magic bag, in here I mentioned my mini TSA approved scissors. I love these things. This was another Flock purchase last year, and they are just these teeny tiny little scissors. They are TSA approved. I got these through several airports. I got them through Seattle, Iceland, Denmark, Amsterdam. So I've gotten these through many airport securities at this point. Oregon as well. Many airports I have gotten through just fine with these in my Black Pearl Magic mini boxy bag. So I love these. They're fantastic. They're literally just scissors. They have this nice little silicone cap thing so you don't accidentally stab yourself, which is nice. And I like that they're yellow and easy to find and cute. If you are a person that travels, definitely acquire one of these. I've also heard of people using nail clippers as well. For some reason, to me, that's just like a little bit gross. I think people like buy specifically nail scissors to use with yarn, but like, I don't know, just the optics of that for me, like whipping out my nail clippers on a plane, like I would be pissed if I saw somebody whipping out nail clippers on a plane. I'd be like, hey, so that's insane. Like, don't do that. So for me, I just wanted scissors. I was worried about being judged. I highly recommend. They've come very in handy. I use them outside of the plane too, because those are the ones that fit in my little bag that I take with me everywhere. So they just romp around with me and they're great. I also just have scissors basically in every bag I own, like regular sized small scissors in every bag I own. My fanny pack, all of my bagus have scissors in them. I use scissors when I'm out and about, like on a regular basis. I'm a big proponent of car scissors. I think everybody needs a pair of scissors in their car, and I've kind of like pushed the boundaries on that, and now I'm like, everybody needs a pair of scissors in every bag they own, actually. So I don't know why I'm pushing the scissor agenda. I heard it. Gonna stop saying that now. But like, having scissors on you at all times does come in handy outside of knitting. Okay, that's all I'm saying about that. So for row counting, I have a little row counter, like one that you put on your finger and use to count. I much prefer using this app on my phone called Tally. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically just a glorified tally marker. And hang on, let me show you. So you can have like a few tallies and get Spotify off because it's just Lord's ass. You can have a few tallies going at a time, which is super handy, and then just like, and then it just counts. And you can go down if you mess up or back up. I have found this to be my favorite way of counting rows when I need to do so. I don't know, that's kind of personal preference though. Some people don't like to have their phone open like that. I like that it saves it just on my phone. I find that incredibly handy. Along the same vein of like technology, I don't print out patterns, I just have them on my laptop. And if you download patterns onto your laptop, I'm specifically talking about Mac products right now, sorry, because that's what I use. On Mac, if you download something to your computer, I just have a folder called knitting patterns, and then you open it from that folder, you can access this tool called markup, and I use the markup tool to keep track of where I am in the pattern, make notes in the margins. I also use the highlight tool to highlight like what size I'm making and stuff, and then I also go through and I highlight the size for all of like the stitch counts and everything, so the size that corresponds to what I'm making, because sometimes it's easy to like mix them up because there's just so many numbers, but I have number dyslexia, so that also could be a personal issue, but I find it's a little bit easier on my eyes to just like be looking at the highlighted numbers. So I really like that feature on Mac when I'm reading patterns. It's been a big help for me. I know that's like the silliest little thing, but if you are a Mac user, I'm sure Windows and stuff have something similar, but if you're a Mac user, I definitely recommend going that route if if you are a online pattern girly. This is another one I've mentioned several times. The incredibly specific Brooklyn Tweed Italian tubular bind-off tutorial changed my life with Italian bind-offs. I was a notorious Italian bind-off hater for years. I watched this video, made it so much easier. So they condense it into 2 steps, which like takes half the time. It's so much easier. This is by far the best tutorial video I have found. Cannot recommend this video enough. I've had people like DM me because I've mentioned this before and they're like, I can't find the video. What is the Italian bind-off method? And I'm like, I have that thing saved. So I've got you. I highly recommend it. Changed my life. Kind of, actually. Thank you, Brooklyn Tweed. Okay, and now a few things I feel you do not need, but again, these are just my opinions. Okay, the first one is Barber Cords, and I'm specifically talking about the Barber Cord brand, Barber Cords. These are a ripoff. They are robbing you, basically. So Barber Cords are just this hollow silicone tubing, basically, and you can buy a spool of it with yards and yards and yards for $5 on Amazon. But it's so cheap compared to if you buy the brand name one where it's pre-cut for you and you get fraction of the amount that you get when you buy just the full spool. They charge close to $20 for something you can get for $5. That's insane. I personally fell victim to the Barber Cord propaganda, and I have since made it my mission to spread the word that these are a ripoff. And I'm sorry, I respect the hustle. I do, but I respect saving you guys money more. My priorities lie with you, I'm sorry. I don't call you besties for nothing, okay? Next up, plastic tapestry needles. So you've seen me show this one a couple times in this video, but I kind of just have these as backups, and I don't prefer these by any means. They're just so flimsy. Trying to do an Italian bind-off with a plastic needle is no fun at all because they're just so bendy. You can't like, it's weird and I don't like it. So yeah, I keep these around for emergencies, and these were what I bought initially, but I much prefer a metal tapestry needle. By far, it makes it a lot easier to do Italian bind-offs because it's not bending all over the place and you're not worried it's gonna snap on you and you're gonna lose stitches. So I don't recommend you buy plastic tapestry needles if you are going out and buying tapestry needles for the first time. The other thing, this is pretty beginner specific, but straight needles. Personally, I don't touch my straight needles. Pretty much all of the straight needles I own live in this thrifted thing. I don't use these at all. I did when I was very first learning how to knit, but ever since then, I only use circulars. I knit flat and in the round with just circulars. I've like tried to use straight needles a couple times since then, and it is such an awkward experience. Like, it's so much needle and you just like feel bulky and weird. I mean, optically it's great because I want to look like a grandmother in a rocking chair all the time, but it's not worth it for how much strain it put on my wrist and like how awkward it was, and my tension was a mess and I hated it. So every straight needle I have ever purchased, which is quite a few for some reason, live in here and are not touched. If you are starting out, I highly recommend just get a pair of circulars and knit flat with the circulars. You will thank me. My last thing I think you don't need is a tension ring. So these are sometimes recommended for people who knit continental when they're doing color work. I knit continental, so I hold my yarn in my left hand. So doing color work when you knit continental is a little bit harder because you aren't used to like dropping and picking up yarn as much. I don't know, it's a little bit awkward. Somebody recommended a tension ring for that purpose because you can thread one color through here, one color through there, and it's supposed to like help you keep them separated so you're not tangling every 2 stitches and it's just a mess. I hate this thing. This was a terrible purchase. I tried to use it like once and I was like, this is making it harder, actually. It would get caught in the metal. It wasn't comfortable to have on when I was knitting. I had to like keep my finger up the whole time and my poor little fingy got super tired. It was not fun. My recommendation for you is to watch this video, Knitting Colorwork Continental. She shows you how to wrap your yarn around your pinky and then thread it under your middle finger with one color, over your index finger with the other color, and that keeps them separate, like what this is supposed to do, but without a thing that you bought and now don't use and have many lying around because it came in like a pack of 20 for some reason. I don't know why you'd need that many of these, but go off, I guess. Yeah, I don't use this thing. I hated using it and that video is a much better solution in my humble opinion. So I think that was all of my knitting tools I wanted to share with you today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite knitting tools are, what you can't live without, and yeah, let me know what you're up to. I love a good chit chat in the comments, so thank you for watching, and I hope you found some sort of use out of this video, and I will see you next time with a regular podcast update. So until then, you take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.